Welcome to a place where the things no one dares to speak of are told word by word. I am your guide, a relentless curious mind with a tin-foil hat and a pile of files stamped top secret, yet somehow available on the internet. You might laugh or maybe get a little uneasy as I tell you about things the government doesn't want you to know, maps that don't exist on Google or names erased from history. But hey, if it's all just fiction, then why is someone trying so hard to keep you from watching this video? Lock your doors, turn off the lights, and keep your mind sharp, because what you're about to hear might change the way you see the world forever. In 1945, 5 U.S. Navy bombers, Flight 19, took off from Florida on a routine training mission. The sky was clear. The equipment was functioning normally. But just a few hours later, the entire crew, 14 men, vanished from radar. No distress signals. No wreckage. No one ever returned. The mystery didn't stop there. A seaplane sent to search for them also disappeared. No traces. No explanations. And so, people began calling that stretch of ocean by a name both chilling and intriguing: the Bermuda Triangle. Since then, hundreds of aircraft and ships, including military vessels, luxury yachts, and even commercial airliners, have inexplicably disappeared while passing through the area between Florida, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. What is really happening there? Is it a natural phenomenon, human error, or something else, something we were never meant to know? My name is John, an average American citizen living comfortably in the modern world, with high-speed Wi-Fi, safe SUVs, and a tightly packed work schedule. Honestly, I never thought I'd become obsessed with a mystery like this. But then, one day, I heard the story of the Bermuda Triangle from an old friend in the military, someone I trust completely. He spoke of strange files that never appeared on CNN or Fox News, of secret Navy and Air Force missions that were never meant to go public, and of families left waiting for answers that the government refused to provide. From that day on, I was drawn into uncovering everything about the Bermuda Triangle. As an American, I believe in transparency and the right to know the truth. But somehow, this story has always been blurred. And I can't help but wonder, does the government really want us to know what's happening in those waters? So I decided to investigate on my own. Not just by reading official reports, but by speaking with witnesses, digging through old files, and cross-referencing stories that were never widely shared. You might think I'm just another conspiracy-obsessed guy chasing a wild theory. But I promise you what I found will make you rethink everything you believed about the Bermuda Triangle. In this video, I'll take you deep into the darkest corners of the Bermuda Triangle. Not just the bizarre disappearances, but also the forgotten data, the suppressed records, and the evidence authorities don't want the public to see. We'll revisit unsolved cases, from Flight 19 in 1945 to the Cyclops, a cargo ship carrying 309 people that vanished in 1918 without sending a single distress signal. I'll show you leaked reports, puzzle pieces that seemed meaningless, until they were put together to tell a story very different from what we were taught in school or told by the mainstream media. You'll hear testimonies from the rare few who have survived passing through the area. People who describe feelings of disorientation, time slowing down, and instruments failing despite being recently checked. And most importantly, I'll ask the question no one dares to ask. Could there be a force, one not of this world, controlling those waters? Or is the government hiding something there, using the label of a natural mystery as cover? If you have the courage to go all the way to the end, I won't promise you peace of mind. But I do promise you will never look at the Atlantic Ocean the same way again. The Bermuda Triangle, a name that sounds like it belongs in a horror novel, is actually a very real region, spanning approximately 500,000 square miles between Miami, Florida, Bermuda, and San Juan, Puerto Rico. This imaginary triangle on the Atlantic Ocean is at the heart of one of the greatest modern mysteries of our time. And what makes it even stranger, this isn't some remote, untraveled stretch of water. On the contrary, it's one of the busiest maritime and aviation routes on the planet, with thousands of ships and flights passing through each year. The problem is, not all of them reach their destination. The so-called Bermuda Triangle isn't an official designation. It has never been recognized by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, or the Pentagon. Yet, mysterious disappearances in this region have been recorded since the 19th century, and to this day, it remains the area with the highest rate of unexplained vanishings in the U.S., if not the entire world. Data from the U.S. Coast Guard has documented hundreds of cases where communications suddenly went silent, radar signals vanished, and no wreckage or bodies were ever recovered. If you're picturing a calm sea, golden sunlight, and a clear blue sky, you'd be correct. But that's just the surface. Beneath that peaceful appearance lies something different. Something that can distort compasses, disorient pilots, and even make time slow down. Some scientists suggest this is where magnetic anomalies interfere with navigation. Some spiritualists believe it's a portal or the remnants of the lost city of Atlantis. And then, there are those who say outright, we've been looking in the wrong direction. This isn't nature's doing. This is technology. And that technology is not from Earth. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's go back. We need to know, when did this all begin? What was the first case? Who were the first victims of the Bermuda Triangle? In any mystery, especially one that has lasted for centuries, the key questions aren't just what happened, but also who was there, who had the power to control the narrative, and who remained silent in a suspicious way. With the Bermuda Triangle, the main characters, or rather the big players, are quite clear. 1. The U.S. government and military. Since the mid-20th century, the U.S. Department of Defense, the Navy, and particularly Eglin Air Force Base in Florida, have frequently conducted training flights, patrols, and surveillance missions over this region. Notably, the disappearance of Flight 19 in 1945 was a training mission organized by the Navy, and all related records were classified as top secret 4 years. Have you ever wondered, why would a disappearance, due to bad weather or human error, need to be classified? And why, even today, are large portions of the report still redacted in FOIA, Freedom of Information Act documents? 2. The U.S. Coast Guard, USCG. The USCG frequently operates in this maritime region for search and rescue missions and anti-smuggling patrols. They are the first responders when a ship or aircraft goes missing. Yet strangely, most of their reports often end with vague statements like, no clear evidence indicates the cause, or, most likely due to sudden weather changes, a convenient explanation, or a way to avoid disclosing something bigger. 3. Private corporations and insurance companies. Did you know that some shipping companies deliberately avoid routes through the Bermuda Triangle, even though it would significantly shorten their journey? Some insurance providers have either increased premiums or outright refused to cover disappearances in this region, citing high risk factors of unknown origin. This implies that the financial sector knows more than they're saying, and they have a strong motive to stay silent: money. 4. The outsiders, independent researchers, exiled scientists, and former military personnel. During my investigation, I managed to contact individuals who had either worked on military missions or survived crossings through the triangle. These people don't appear on the news. They aren't interviewed on television. But what they reveal could change everything you think you know. A former pilot once told me, I swear, the compass spun wildly. The navigation system disappeared. Everything around me blurred, as if someone cut the connection between me and reality. These individuals have nothing to gain by lying. Yet their voices are consistently drowned out by reassuring news reports and simplistic conclusions. Before it was called the Devil's Triangle, the Bermuda region was just another part of the Atlantic Ocean, no different from any other maritime route. Throughout the 18th and 19th centuries, thousands of ships from Europe to the Americas crossed these waters without any reported anomalies. This area has a subtropical climate, crystal clear waters, stable sea breezes, and was once considered ideal for maritime travel. The Gulf of Mexico and the U.S. East Coast relied on this region for transporting oil, goods, and even military forces during wartime. Nautical maps from the 19th century do not label this region as dangerous. British, French, and American sailors treated it as a routine part of their journeys, without any indication of supernatural threats. Even in the early 20th century, As aviation advanced, commercial and military flights regularly flew over the area with high safety records. Flights from Miami to San Juan or from New York to the Caribbean took this route because it was short and efficient. No one at the time imagined this stretch of ocean would become the epicenter of hundreds of unexplained disappearances. Local fishermen, from Florida to Puerto Rico, still set sail daily. Commercial ships still traverse the waters. Luxury yachts continue to ferry American tourists to the Bahamas and Bermuda. And military officers still call this region a standard training zone. In short, before the 1940s, the Bermuda Triangle was just a name on the map. Nothing special, nothing mysterious, and certainly nothing terrifying. But then, something changed. And everything began with a legendary disappearance. The case known as the vanishing of Flight 19. December 5, 1945, America was still in the post-World War II era. Military bases in Florida were bustling. The Navy and Air Force frequently conducted training drills to maintain combat readiness. At 2 p.m., 5 Grumman TBF Avenger bombers, each carrying a pilot and 2 crew members, took off from the Naval Air Station in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Their mission, to fly east over the Atlantic, conduct a simulated bombing drill near the Bahamas, then return following a triangular route. The skies were clear. The wind was calm. Everything was perfect. But less than 2 hours after takeoff, air traffic control began receiving strange transmissions. Flight leader Lieutenant Charles Taylor radioed in, "We don't know where we are. Everything looks strange. I can't determine direction. Even the ocean doesn't look normal." Their compasses spun erratically, navigation systems failed, and the pilots began flying in circles, unable to find their way back to base. Air traffic control attempted to guide them west, back to land. But the signals weakened, then vanished entirely. Not a single plane returned. No wreckage was ever found. No bodies. No distress signals. And here's the most chilling part. The Martin Mariner rescue aircraft, carrying 13 crew members, was dispatched that same night to locate Flight 19. But it, too, disappeared from radar just 20 minutes after takeoff. Total, 27 people vanished within hours, in the same area. Initially, the U.S. Navy tried to explain it away. Pilot error, sudden weather shifts, or mechanical failure. But internally, it was a different story. The final investigation report, completed after 6 months, contained a shocking conclusion that was allegedly erased from the official public release. The planes disappeared as if they flew into another dimension. Since then, the Bermuda Triangle has ceased to be just an ordinary stretch of ocean. It has become a symbol of mysterious, illogical, and scientifically impossible disappearances. What started as a routine training exercise opened a doorway into the shadowy depths of human history, where logic is no longer king and radar is no longer a compass. I'm used to hearing explanations like bad weather, equipment failure, or pilot disorientation. Those reasons sound safe. But when you put them next to the facts, the data, and logic, everything starts to fall apart. Contradiction number 1. No distress signals were ever sent. With 1945 technology, failing to send a distress signal might be understandable. But this pattern has repeated itself in dozens of disappearances since, even with modern aircraft and ships equipped with satellite navigation, GPS, backup radios, and black boxes. Take, for example, the year 2015. The cargo ship El Faro, over 790 feet long and equipped with advanced radar, completely vanished near Bermuda while reporting that the weather was still under control. The final signal was received just minutes before the entire vessel disappeared, leaving nothing behind except a few floating containers. The question is, what could cause an entire modern system to go silent in an instant? Contradiction number 2. No wreckage. This is the strangest part. Whether a plane or a ship explodes, sinks, or crashes, something should remain. Oil slicks, metal fragments, lifeboats, luggage. Yet, in most disappearances within the Bermuda Triangle, nothing is found. Not even Flight 19. No fuselage, no engines, no life rafts. Even though this stretch of ocean is only about 3,000 to 5,000 feet deep, well within the capabilities of modern recovery technology. If the planes crashed, they should be there. If not, where did they go? Contradiction number 3. Why selective silence? Some Bermuda disappearances receive heavy media coverage, while others, even those with greater casualties, are almost ignored by American news outlets. For example, the disappearance of the USS Cyclops in 1918, carrying 309 people, the largest non-combat loss in U.S. Navy history, remains unsolved. No one knows what happened. No final investigative report was ever made public. No large-scale national memorial. Just a blank space in the records. Who decides which stories get told? And who decides which ones should be forgotten? These contradictions aren't just clerical errors or coincidences. They suggest one thing. Something is wrong, systematically wrong, and it cannot be explained by nature or simple technical failures. It's like a door that is always closed, but occasionally, someone inside cracks it open just to throw out another riddle. You can pretend that what happens in the Bermuda Triangle is random, just accidents. But when you see the same pattern repeat itself, sudden disappearances, no distress signals, no wreckage, no explanations, you have to ask yourself, if everything is normal, why is it so abnormal? Question number 1. Why does modern technology remain silent? We live in an age where an iPhone can pinpoint your location within a few feet. Commercial planes have 2 independent navigation systems, and black boxes can transmit signals underwater for weeks. So why do modern aircraft and ships still vanish in the Bermuda Triangle without a trace? Imagine this. A Boeing 727, nearly 150 feet long, disappears as if swallowed whole. Technology should help us find clues. But here, technology is the first thing to disappear. Question number 2. Why do disappearances always happen at inexplicable moments? Have you noticed? Many disappearances occur when the weather is perfectly normal, when pilots or captains are highly experienced, and when the schedule presents no apparent risks. No storms, no human errors. Then what? Does something only activate when humans are completely unprepared? Question number 3. Is an invisible force erasing all evidence? If you were a criminal, the best way to hide your crime would be to erase all evidence. In the Bermuda Triangle, there seems to be a mechanism doing just that. Every disappearance ends with the conclusion, not enough data to determine the cause. So is this just coincidence, or a highly sophisticated cleanup beyond the explanation of modern science? Question number 4. Who benefits from this ambiguity? An unsolved mystery can create many advantages. The government can conceal military tests or undisclosed technology. The insurance companies can increase rates based on unexplained risks. International forces can manipulate information without scrutiny. The real question isn't why we don't have answers. It's who has the answers and doesn't want you to know. Each question is a puzzle piece. But when you try to put them together, you start to see an image forming, and it doesn't look like anything the evening news has ever shown you. When a plane disappears, it's not just the people on board who vanish. A piece of our faith in order and control disappears with it. The Bermuda Triangle has become America's collective obsession, not because of what we know, but because of what we cannot know. Disappearances are not just physical, they are psychological. Ask anyone who has lived in Florida or worked on flights over the Atlantic. They all have at least one strange story. Compasses spinning, radios glitching, radar blacking out for minutes at a time. I once met a retired pilot in Tampa who put it this way. There are moments in the cockpit when you feel like you're not in this world anymore. There's no reason, just an instinct telling you, get out of there as fast as you can. These phenomena are not recorded in manuals. There are no error codes, but they are etched into the memories of survivors, and that is what makes the fear real. The silent shift in maritime and aviation industries. No official order says, avoid the Bermuda Triangle. But over time, airlines have adjusted their flight paths. Commercial ships have opted for longer routes. Military exercises in the region have decreased, not due to publicized reasons, but because of an unspoken tradition within the industry. I spoke with a former U.S. Navy destroyer commander who admitted, no one orders us to avoid it, but all captains understand. If possible, don't take your ship through that area at night. growing public skepticism toward the government. When the U.S. government cannot or will not provide clear answers, people start asking bigger questions. If they're not telling the truth about the Bermuda Triangle, what else are they hiding? What technologies are being tested in these waters? And are we stumbling upon something that we were never meant to? The Bermuda Triangle has become a symbol of uncertainty, a blank space on the map of trust. The consequences go beyond the number of missing people or lost assets. The real impact is that we begin to doubt what we once took for granted. Radar, GPS, radio, and even reality itself. And that is the most terrifying part. My investigation begins. It started with a cup of coffee, a laptop, and a Google Maps image of the Bermuda Triangle. From Miami, Florida, drawing a line to San Juan, Puerto Rico, then connecting it down to the Bermuda Islands. A vast 500,000 square mile expanse of ocean, lying along some of the busiest maritime and air traffic routes in the world. But what caught my attention first wasn't inside the triangle, it was outside of it. Why does the official map of the U.S. government not recognize the Bermuda Triangle's boundaries? No special maritime warnings. No specific guidance from the FAA, Federal Aviation Administration. No no-fly zone. With hundreds of recorded disappearances, this isn't an oversight. It's a deliberate omission. Tracking down the witnesses. A Navy veteran who served on a rescue ship near Bermuda in the 1980s told me, "We received distress signals, only to arrive and find nothing there. No wreckage, no oil slicks, just the silent ocean." A retired radar engineer in Pensacola told me that remote monitoring systems had detected unexplained blind spots, where electromagnetic signals bent or vanished entirely. I documented every word, every detail. Then I kept digging, filing a Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, request. I submitted FOIA requests to the U.S. Navy, Air Force, and National Weather Service, asking for all records related to Flight 19, the El Faro cargo ship, and the USS Cyclops. 6 weeks later, I received several sets of documents, most with crucial sections blacked out. Phrases like magnetic disturbances, anomalous sonar reflections, and inconclusive results appeared repeatedly. One line in the Navy's report on the USS Cyclops stood out. The cause of disappearance remains undetermined. No trace has ever been found. As if the ship vanished into thin air. Searching for forgotten clues in Key West. In a quiet corner of southern Florida, I visited a little-known maritime museum. There, I found something no official agency had ever published. A hand-drawn map from 1963, marked with dozens of red dots, each representing a disappearance, most of which were never officially recorded. An elderly museum staffer told me, some disappearances were never reported. Families were forced into silence. Information was locked within the military. And sometimes, names simply vanished from all records, as if those people never existed. That's when I realized the truth isn't in the Library of Congress or on the Discovery Channel. It exists in whispered stories, in half-shredded files, and in the haunting silence of those who were there but never spoke about it. And this journey was only beginning. Looking where no one else does, waves. Not ocean waves, but electromagnetic waves, Earth's magnetic field shifts, and space-time distortions. Evidence of magnetic anomalies. I found an old study from the University of Colorado, published in the 1970s, noting that at certain points within the Bermuda Triangle, Earth's magnetic field deviates slightly, enough to throw a compass off by 5 to 15 degrees, but only during specific times of the year. The U.S. Air Force had also documented magnetic anomalies during reconnaissance flights, areas where navigation systems spun erratically, radar blurred, and GPS glitched, despite no hardware issues. Why isn't this information included in pilot training manuals? And if the government knew about these anomalies, what have they done about them? Seeking out survivors. In Jacksonville, Florida, I met David, a former Marine who piloted a boat through the area in 2003. He recalled, "We passed through a stretch of ocean where the water became unnaturally still, almost like a mirror. Everything fell eerily silent. The radio cut out. Radar picked up nothing, and the entire crew felt as if something was watching from below. David couldn't explain it, but I knew this wasn't an isolated experience. I had recorded 14 similar testimonies, from ship captains to civilian pilots, and every single one described the same pattern. About the absolute silence zones, where equipment fails and people feel disoriented, underwater waves, and the unwarned superwaves. I went to the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution in Massachusetts. A researcher showed me a hydrological simulation of the Bermuda region. Beneath the ocean, over 16,000 feet deep, lie ancient geological fault lines capable of generating massive methane gas columns, strong enough to lift a ship before sucking it down within minutes. This is a popular hypothesis. But something doesn't add up. Why do planes disappear in midair as well? How could methane waves affect electronic devices and compasses? I asked, and the researcher simply smirked. We don't have an answer either, but maybe it's not natural. A shocking pattern, a recurring cycle. I downloaded all disappearance records from 1945 to the present, and when I ran the data through an analysis program to pinpoint the missing cases, I uncovered a pattern. Every 11 years, there is a peak period of disappearances lasting approximately 18 months. The last one, mid-2013 to late 2014. No public announcements. No warnings. What is happening every 11 years? The answer came from the sun. The sun's activity cycle, solar storms, radiation bursts, also follows an 11-year cycle. And during these geomagnetic storm peaks, Earth's magnetic field in the Bermuda Triangle becomes extremely unstable. What does this mean? It means that the Bermuda Triangle may not just be a patch of ocean, but an intersection of cosmic energy, magnetic fields, and something science has yet to define. I connected the dots. And when I looked at the map again with magnetic anomalies, disappearances, and the solar storm cycle, I no longer saw just an ocean. I saw a gateway, the first dead end, indefinitely deferred files. I once believed that if I was persistent enough, logical enough, and knew how to use FOIA requests and find witnesses, the truth, sooner or later, would reveal itself. But I was wrong. Some truths aren't just hidden. There's an invisible force actively keeping you from getting too close. I submitted a supplemental FOIA request to the U.S. Navy, asking for additional records on USS Scorpion, a nuclear submarine that vanished in 1968 while returning from, yes, you guessed it, near the Bermuda Triangle. 3 weeks later, I received a response. A short letter, just 3 lines. Due to national security concerns, your request has been deferred indefinitely. We appreciate your interest in naval history. I wasn't asking for nuclear weapon specs. I wasn't requesting launch codes. I was simply asking why a massive submarine disappeared without a trace. From that moment on, some of my emails were never answered. A few scheduled interviews with witnesses were suddenly canceled without explanation. The first turning point, a former intelligence agent. In August last year, I received a strange, anonymous message. You're digging in the right direction, but be careful of the hole you're digging. At first, I thought it was a joke. But days later, I was contacted by a man claiming to be a former NSA, National Security Agency employee, retired since 2002. We met at a small cafe in Richmond, Virginia. He didn't provide documents, but he said something I will never forget. The Bermuda Triangle isn't just a natural phenomenon. It's a testing ground or a communication gateway. Whatever it is, they've known about it since the 1940s, and they don't want the public to know. I asked, a gateway to what? He fell silent, then simply shook his head. The most shocking discovery, secret military projects overlapping. While digging through classified weapons experiment archives, I stumbled upon something strange. The Philadelphia experiment, 1943, an alleged teleportation test involving the USS Eldridge, took place just a few hundred nautical miles from the Bermuda Triangle. HAARP, High-Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, based in Alaska, had conducted ionospheric reflection studies over the Caribbean Sea. A classified space-based gravity wave monitoring program, partially leaked via WikiLeaks in 2017, recorded anomalous disturbances, near the eastern Bahamas. Why do three unrelated secret programs all converge at the Bermuda Triangle? I started feeling chills. Not because of what I knew, but because of what I felt I was about to know and perhaps shouldn't. The unofficial warning. One night in October, while driving home, I noticed a black SUV with no license plates following me for 5 miles. I turned 3 times, it still followed. I stopped at a red light and glanced through my rearview mirror. Couldn't see a face. Just dark windows and silence. Nothing happened. They didn't do anything. But they didn't have to. They just needed me to know I was being watched. Dead ends, turning points, and shadows. This journey was no longer a fascinating investigation into a maritime mystery. It had become a collision between an ordinary citizen and a machine built to bury the truth. And I knew, once you touch that door, you can never go back the same. After dead ends, warnings, and fragmented information, I started to think that maybe I had gone too far, and that I was about to be forced to stop. But then came a phone call from Jack, a retired radar engineer from Lockheed Martin, and everything changed. We met at a seaside bar. Jack, his hair completely white, brought with him a small aluminum box, covered in old warning labels from the 1980s. Inside was a VHS tape. This was never stored on a server. I've kept it for 32 years. The buried footage, a repeating signal from nowhere. It was a recording from a civilian radar station near Andros Island, Bahamas, right on the edge of the Bermuda Triangle. Date of recording, November 6, 1992. The video showed continuous radar waveforms for 8 hours. Everything was normal, until 12:03 a.m. A signal appeared. Not from an airplane, not from a ship, but a geometric, repeating pattern similar to Morse code, but pulsing like an audio frequency wave. Jack, being a radar signal engineer, was certain. Nothing in space naturally creates a wave like this, unless it's a programmed communication system. I took the video to a waveform analysis expert at MIT, and what he found made my skin crawl. That signal was a 98% match to an encryption format used in NASA's deep space probes. An unidentified object at an unreachable depth. Following the signal's origin, I checked NOAA's seismic scan maps. And right at the exact location and time of the transmission, there was a marked seismic anomaly labeled Unclassified Anomaly. Estimated size, 450 feet long. Symmetrical, elongated shape, not matching any natural geological formations. Depth, 19,200 feet, deeper than the Titanic wreck. Couldn't believe it. A massive object, lying at the bottom of an ocean where things supposedly vanish without a trace. And the transmitted signal matched a communication technology that wasn't from Earth. I asked the MIT expert, "What do you think it is?" He just shook his head. "If it's not from humans, then it's from something else." The photograph no one dared to publish. A few weeks later, an anonymous sender mailed me a photograph. No email, no phone number. It was printed on old Kodak paper with a handwritten note on the back. USAF, Aerial Recon, June 1986, latitude 25.000, longitude -71.000. The photo showed the ocean, taken from about 20,000 feet up. Right in the center was a perfectly symmetrical, pitch-black circle, like a whirlpool, but completely flat without waves. I ran image enhancement software, and at the edge of that black vortex, there was a triangular flying object. No wings, no light reflection. A turning point in my understanding. I no longer believed the Bermuda Triangle was just a natural phenomenon. I no longer thought it was merely a dangerous area for ships and planes. I started to believe the Bermuda Triangle is an intersection between two worlds. A gateway? A testing ground for extraterrestrial communication? Or worse, a lure designed to make the curious disappear? Maybe no one is actually vanishing. Maybe they're being taken. I sat in front of my map, pinning locations for the signals, the anomaly, and the disappearances. Perfect triangle appeared, too precise to be random. And in that moment, I realized We do not have full control over our own skies and oceans. Maybe we never did. If you had asked me a year ago, what is so terrifying about the Bermuda Triangle that governments would hide it, I might have just shrugged. But now it's different, because once you get too close to the truth, the strangest part isn't the disappearances anymore. It's the feeling that every step you take is being watched. The first sign, random listening devices. I used an RF detector, a device that detects radio frequencies and tracking signals, to randomly sweep my apartment in Arlington, Virginia. You know what I found? A small transmitter, hidden inside an electrical outlet behind my fridge. Not a standard consumer-grade camera, but a surveillance device using an unknown frequency, something only security specialists would recognize. I immediately removed it, put it in a Faraday bag, and drove straight to an independent research lab. The results? This device has no serial number. It uses a small lithium polymer battery and transmits on a 1.6 GHz frequency, typically used in long-range espionage. You can't buy this on Amazon. You can't find it on the market. Someone had planted it in my home. A midnight call, no caller ID. Wednesday, 1:38 a.m. My phone rang. The screen showed no caller ID. A deep, raspy male voice said only one thing. You have touched something you were never meant to touch. Then hung up. I never told my family about this. But for the first time, I truly felt it. Investigating the Bermuda Triangle was no longer just a theory or speculation. It was starting to affect my real life. A sudden bank account freeze with no clear reason. In mid-January, I received a notice from my bank. Unusual activity detected. Your account will be temporarily frozen for 48 hours for verification. When I asked, what activity? They refused to provide specific details. I had never missed a bill payment. I had no strange international transactions. The strange part? 2 days later, my account was restored without any explanation. Was this just a coincidence? Or was it a warning? A reminder that everything you own can be locked away at any time? The mysterious drone that kept appearing over my roof. I live in a quiet residential area where civilian drones rarely fly overhead. But for 2 weeks after I shared my radar signal analysis with an independent journalist, I noticed a black drone with no lights hovering over my roof at 3 a.m. 3 times in 10 days. It emitted no Wi-Fi signal, no Bluetooth connection. When I shined a flashlight and pointed a laser at it, it vanished within seconds, without a sound. No neighbors claimed ownership. The police found no device when I reported it. An ordinary American pulled into an extraordinary game. I'm an American citizen. I believe in freedom of speech, the right to access information, and a democracy built on transparency. But when you start touching something someone doesn't want revealed, you begin to understand. Freedom only exists up to the boundary of national secrets. And somehow the Bermuda Triangle lies within that boundary. You can call me paranoid. But if you had lived the way I have for the past 6 months, you'd also be checking for listening devices before bed and covering your webcam even when your laptop is off. I no longer ask, is someone watching me? I only ask, what exactly are they watching me for? There's no doubt anymore. The events I've experienced, from surveillance devices to anonymous phone calls to unidentified drones, are too precise to be random coincidence. They prove one thing. A powerful group is monitoring the Bermuda Triangle with extreme interest. But the real question is, who are they? CIA, the gatekeepers of forbidden information. I began tracing official disappearance records and declassified military documents. And what shocked me was this. Most Bermuda Triangle-related documents had been heavily redacted before release. Sections describing unidentified objects, time distortion phenomena, and spatial signal loss were all blacked out. The 1977 CIA internal document, from an operation called Sea Echo, revealed that the agency had sent a special retrieval team to the Bermuda waters, but never disclosed the reason. A retired CIA agent once admitted in a private interview, "There are things off the coast of Florida that we were ordered never to talk about. Not because we don't understand them, but because we can't let the world know they exist." The U.S. Navy, the true owners of the free ocean? Few people realize this. Much of the Bermuda Triangle falls within classified U.S. Navy operation zones. On paper, these are just training areas. But why does a training area contain high-intensity jamming radars, capable of disrupting GPS and radio signals across hundreds of nautical miles? Unmarked submarines, seen maneuvering at depths of tens of thousands of feet? Permanent sonar detection devices, linked to a classified network, similar to what NASA uses to track deep space objects. I found an internal report from 2003 stating that the Navy retrieved an unknown object near Puerto Rico, which was then transported via C-17 to Andrews Air Force Base. After that, it disappeared from all military records. And do you know who has the authority to erase an object from military records? NSA. NSA, the people who never answer, yet always know what you're asking. I submitted a FOIA request, Freedom of Information Act, to the NSA, requesting access to radar data and transmissions related to the Bermuda Triangle. Just 5 days later, I received a one-line response. Request denied. This material is classified under National Security Directive 84, subsection 3.7.2. I looked up section 3.7.2 of NSD 84. It applies exclusively to cases of suspected or unverified interplanetary communications. At that moment, I felt a chill down my spine. They had just implicitly confirmed there is a possibility of extraterrestrial contact, and it's happening right in the Bermuda Triangle. And then, the unnamed ones, organizations that don't exist. Through an investigative journalist, I discovered a name, Omega Watchers, a group rumored to be a secret NATO-backed alliance formed after World War II, tasked with monitoring potential contact points with non-human technology. No official records, no website, no address, just a handful of leaked notes, one of which contained a detail that kept me awake for nights. They don't just watch Bermuda. They have monitoring stations in the Arctic, the Nevada desert, and deep beneath the ocean, Japan. The Bermuda Triangle is just one of many energy convergence nodes, points where space and time can bend. One of the leaked documents contained this ominous note. Bermuda node stable since 1967, breach potential rising, must contain. It must be controlled. It must be kept secret. At any cost. The picture becomes clearer. The CIA suppresses information. The Navy controls the waters. The NSA blocks all access to data. And a mysterious organization may be managing extraterrestrial contact corridors without the public's knowledge. That's when I realized the Bermuda Triangle is not a phenomenon. It is a project, a gateway, a control system, and anyone who tries to step inside gets taken out of the game. Permanently. I used to believe in the government. Like many other Americans, I believed that, despite military secrecy and sensitive information, the truth ultimately belongs to the people. But this investigation changed me, and I was forced to accept one undeniable truth. At least some part of our government knows something enormous about the Bermuda Triangle, and they're doing everything to keep it buried. Why are there no official records for dozens of disappearances? I reached out to the National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, and the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, requesting data on missing aircraft and ships in the Bermuda Triangle from 1950 to today. And do you know what they told me? Many cases were not officially recorded due to lack of accident evidence. Some disappearances had no file numbers at all, despite being widely reported by the media. Several records were accidentally lost or damaged due to old storage system failures. Dozens of lives lost, millions of dollars in missing assets, and over 1,000 unexplained incidents in these waters. And no one is held accountable? If that's not a cover-up, what is? What happened to the scientists who studied Bermuda? I discovered at least 3 cases where American researchers published findings on magnetic anomalies and time distortions in the Bermuda Triangle, and then vanished from the scientific community. Dr. Harold J. Whitman, an ocean physics expert who wrote a 1986 report on sudden magnetic shifts in the Bermuda hydrosphere, disappeared in March 1987 while sailing alone. Professor Lorna Kessler, MIT physicist, known for her theory on space-time bubbles formed by localized gravitational energy, was removed from her research committee after a single lecture. Her entire study was seized for violating research ethics. A marine radar engineer who reported a blank response zone in the airspace near Bermuda suddenly resigned, without notice. His family refused to speak to reporters. All of them had one thing in common. They dared to speak about things that didn't fit the official narrative. And then, they disappeared from the public eye. The silence is too perfect to be coincidence. I reached out to major news networks, NBC, CNN, Fox, requesting an in-depth investigative interview about Bermuda and its government ties. The result? No one responded. A journalist who was once interested sent me a message. It's not that I don't believe you. I just don't want to lose my press credentials. A technical staffer at ABC told me that a Bermuda Triangle documentary was in production in 2012, but it was shut down from very high up. Do you see what's happening? This isn't disinterest. This is direct suppression. A forced silence. The same old excuse for national security. The phrase national security has become an impenetrable shield, hiding everything the government doesn't want the public to know. I heard it every time my requests were denied. Every time data disappeared. Every time someone told me to stop digging. But I have to ask, how could the truth about a patch of ocean possibly threaten national security? Or is it just a legal excuse, giving them absolute control over something that humanity deserves to know? We, the taxpayers, deserve to know what's happening. I am an American citizen. I pay taxes. I believe in the Constitution, the right to information, the right to question, and the right to live without bending to unseen forces. If the government knows about a phenomenon that could affect this planet, or even confirm extraterrestrial intelligence, but refuses to tell the public, then that is not national defense. That is betrayal. And if you are reading this, then you have the right to ask, who is really controlling the truth? And why are they so afraid of you knowing it? I know this sounds crazy, but put your biases aside for a moment. Look at the facts, the undeniable evidence, and ask yourself, what single theory explains everything? The existence of a non-human technology, hidden beneath the Bermuda Triangle. The disappearances, strangely similar patterns. Take a closer look at the most famous disappearances in this area. Flight 19, 1945, 5 TBM Avenger bombers vanished without a trace in clear weather. Before disappearing, pilots repeatedly said, "The compass isn't working. I don't know where we are. Everything feels strange. The ocean doesn't look normal." A Star Tiger, 1948. A passenger plane vanished just 10 minutes before landing. No distress signal. No wreckage. SS Marine Sulphur Queen, 1963. A 524-foot-long chemical tanker disappeared with 39 people aboard. No oil slick. No metal debris. Do you notice the pattern? No signs of a physical crash. No emergency distress calls. No traces left behind, almost as if they evaporated from existence. This doesn't happen due to collisions, explosions, or bad weather. This only happens if something interferes with spacetime itself. Electromagnetic disturbances, or an energy field not of this earth. I once contacted a physicist who worked for DARPA, Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. He asked to remain anonymous. He told me, the Bermuda Triangle has electromagnetic anomalies similar to simulated artificial gravity fields. The problem is, we haven't built anything like that yet. According to him, in certain military reports, this area is sometimes referred to as Node X, an unidentified energy convergence point, a device developed to detect low-frequency gravitational waves, something usually only found near black holes. Once picked up faint, intermittent signals deep in the Atlantic Ocean. There's something under the ocean that isn't rock. Using seafloor mapping data, I discovered a 400-square-mile triangular region with unusual ocean floor characteristics, almost perfectly flat, concentric circular patterns appearing at precise 72-foot intervals. At the center of this area, There's a 980-foot tall pyramid-like structure, but it does not reflect sonar signals. A team of private Cuban divers once claimed they saw massive crystal pyramid structures beneath the Bermuda Triangle. But shortly after they published sonar images, their website was taken down, and they were forcibly expelled from international waters without explanation. Alien technology or a space transit station? I started putting the pieces together. Gravitational wave readings, unusual electromagnetic disturbances, sudden disappearances with no trace, a mysterious underwater structure. I arrived at one startling hypothesis. The Bermuda Triangle might be the anchor point of a teleportation system created by an advanced extraterrestrial civilization. Ships and planes aren't being destroyed. They are being pulled in, passing through a space-time gateway to somewhere else. Maybe another dimension. Maybe a distant part of the universe. Some eyewitnesses have even reported blue beams of light emerging from the water, or spherical objects flying into the sky before vanishing without a trace. If this is true, then the Bermuda Triangle is not just a mystery. It is a transport hub, a crossing point between worlds. The biggest question: who's controlling it? If this is alien technology, is it still operational? Is it automated? Or is someone actively monitoring, maybe even controlling it? And more importantly, has the US government or a secret faction within it discovered, accessed, or attempted to exploit this technology? That would explain why everything is covered up, why the area is controlled, why every question is shut down. If this is true, changes everything. How we see the universe, the true history of Earth, humanity's place in a much larger cosmic network. The Bermuda Triangle is no longer just a puzzle. It is either an invitation or a warning. 1. The disappearances, could they be mass abductions? If alien technology exists in Bermuda, and if ships and planes aren't sinking but vanishing, then the biggest question is, where did they go? And are they still alive? Imagine hundreds, maybe thousands, of people, pilots, sailors, passengers, being transported off Earth without knowing. No goodbyes, no chance to resist. A dark possibility I can't shake from my mind. A non-human intelligence may have been experimenting on humans for decades. Not through UFOs, but through a fixed abduction station, disguised as a dangerous oceanic region. If that's true, then the Bermuda Triangle is the tool of a silent invasion. 2. A space gateway, a threat, or an opportunity? What if we aren't the victims, but partners in using this technology with a far more advanced civilization? That would mean that the US government or an ultra-classified organization has access to faster-than-light travel. No rockets, no space stations, no need to break the known laws of physics. We might already have the key to leave our solar system, and yet the public has no idea. But why keep it secret? The answer could be absolute strategic control. The ability to exploit extraterrestrial resources before other superpowers. The ability to deploy troops, weapons, or even conduct biological research beyond ethical limits. 3. The global balance of power would be shattered. If alien technology is already in the hands of a small, elite group, such as the Illuminati, Majestic 12, or a secret military faction, then that means the United States is no longer just a democracy. It is an empire, controlled by those who possess knowledge humanity has never accessed before. Think about it. Nations are racing to develop weapons, AI, and quantum technology. Meanwhile, one group already possesses a gateway through space-time. This is no longer just a military advantage. This is the power of the gods. 4. A crisis of trust, the worst-case scenario. What if the government were to officially announce, "We have known about a space gateway in Bermuda since the 1950s. Hundreds of people have disappeared, and we cannot explain it. We remained silent to prevent mass panic." What do you think would happen? The stock market would collapse. Religious institutions worldwide would be shaken. People would lose all trust in their governments. Millions would rush to Bermuda or scour the internet, searching for the truth at any cost. That is why they stay silent, because the cost of truth may be greater than the cost of secrecy. 5. And what if this is the final warning? There's another, far more terrifying theory. The Bermuda Triangle is not a transportation station. It is a warning system or a defense mechanism, placed there by an ancient civilization that predates humanity. Every time we get too close, every time someone gets too close to the truth, the system reacts. And so, another ship vanishes. Another plane disappears. As if someone is trying to protect a door that was never meant to be opened. The choice is ours, but the door can no longer be closed. We cannot go back. We cannot pretend we never knew what has been revealed. We cannot continue living as if everything is normal. Just as Pandora's box was opened, we have opened the gateway of doubt. And the truth, sooner or later, will be revealed. Balance scale disclaimer. The content in this video is hypothetical and for entertainment purposes, based on various documents, rumors, and personal perspectives from publicly available sources. We do not accuse, confirm, or deny any individual, organization, or government agency. All information is presented to encourage critical thinking and scientific curiosity, fully within the rights of free speech as protected by the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. Viewers are encouraged to research, analyze, and form their own conclusions. If this is all just fiction, then you can sleep peacefully. But if even a part of it is true, what will you do?